Hi, John Dixon here from the Centre for Public Christianity. One of our recent vodcasts became the centre of discussion for a group of very fervent atheists. Greg Clarke, my fellow director here at the Centre, asked the question, why is Richard Dawkins so angry? You can check out the presentation for yourself at publicchristianity.org. His piece was, in my opinion, the epitome of measured, gracious probing. It was pure Dr Clarke. But it provoked the most astonishing response from eager atheists who no doubt trawl the internet for any mention of their hero, Professor Dawkins, and any whiff of scepticism about the new atheism. Now, I'm not sure how representative of atheism in general these responses are, but I'm afraid none of the ones we saw could be described as measured or tolerant. Here's a small sample. One's feelings are not evidences of anything. Your criticisms of Professor Dawkins can't be taken seriously because, as a scientist, he only cares about evidence. There is no God, and Dawkins is the prophet. Could be tongue-in-cheek, I guess. Dawkins is passionate about truth and gets frustrated by people who prance about claiming this and that about the universe and reality, which they just pulled out of their arse. Richard Dawkins is angry because he has a genuine love for science and scientific understanding. To have backward arseheads trying to shoehorn childish creation myths makes me somewhat livid. Everybody with a functioning brain in their head should be angry about this sort of behaviour. But no, the religious just wonder, why is this guy so angry? It's enough to make you want to spit bullets. And finally, this video is full of so many ad hominem attacks and argumentum ag ignorantium statements that it borders on sickening. Anybody who actually took a few hours to read even the first few chapters of the book will realise that Dawkins neither hates or is angry at religious people, and the bulk of what this guy in the video says is pulled from his arse. It's charming stuff. Two things struck me as I read through the 40 or so messages posted in response to Greg's little piece. First was the pure devotion atheists have toward Richard Dawkins. The outrage some obviously felt at our probing of Dawkins' style and agenda was similar to that of the worst religious fundamentalists when their pastor is hammered in the media, or when the founder of their religion, whether Jesus or Muhammad, is ridiculed by unbelievers.
You're listening to the vodcast for the Centre for Public Christianity. For more great content, why not subscribe at publicchristianity.org.
The second thing that struck me was the pure intolerance of a great number of the responses to Greg's vodcast. The loyalty these people feel toward Dawkins inspires the kind of bombastic rhetoric and name-calling that you almost never hear nowadays, not even from Christian fundamentalists. And here was the main thought that emerged for me from all of this stuff. Blind devotion to a cult hero and bigotry toward those who don't quite share the devotion can be found in religion and irreligion alike. Which leads me to think that these things are part of our human nature and nothing to do with religion per se. Human passion is the issue, whether inspired by religious ideas or atheistic ones. Zeal in all its forms can, if not kept in check, metamorphose into dogmatism, absolutism, and a kind of mean-spiritedness. And so a question arises. Is there anything in the atheist worldview itself that can keep in check this zealous devotion and intolerance? I know that plenty of atheists are aesthetically attracted to tolerance, though not the ones we heard from during the week. But my question is there something in the atheist's belief system itself that would encourage grace toward opponents? Or is it just a matter of preference? Some atheists, like Richard Dawkins, prefer generally to act like gentlemen, and others, Michelle Onfray and Christopher Hitchens comes to mind, not to mention those who wrote in, prefer another style completely. My point is there a rational basis within atheism for choosing one approach over the other. Now, I know that plenty of Christians have been just as blindly devoted and bigoted over the years. But at least in theory, when Christians do this, they're acting against something at the core of their faith. Jesus insisted on love of enemies and doing good to those who persecute you. And he embodied those qualities all the way to the cross. The Christian belief in a God of love demands that people act in love toward those who oppose them. Now, whether or not this works out in practice is not my point. My point is the Christian worldview has a built-in, perfectly rational check against intolerance and a built-in, perfectly rational encouragement for tolerance. Does atheism have the same? Or is it a matter of preference and personal style? Again, I'm not saying atheists can't be tolerant. Thankfully, many are. My real question is there anything in the atheist worldview itself that can safeguard against intolerance? Perhaps those who respond to this vodcast will provide the answer, one way or the other.